IVM.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 56 of The Fighting Goat. Yes, sir. We have reached 56 episodes of this amazing show only on ivmpodcast.com. We've got lots of excitement coming up, lots of new news in the world of MMA, a lot of fighters choosing to go back to pro wrestling. Why? Stay tuned and find out, because lots more coming up only on The Fighting Goat.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Storytellers and Storytellers, Vineet talks to Aparna aka Rogstream and Kangana aka Mystic Ignite, two of India's most popular gaming streamers who are taking over the internet. The conversation takes us through their growth journeys as female gamers and how they overcame trolling. On Smarter with Sid, Sid talks about the new Netflix documentary on Kanye West, Genius. Sid also talks about the hustle that Kanye went through and tells us about 3 things that we can learn from him. On the Musafir Stories podcast, we have a returning guest, Anirudh Kanisetti. He discusses Elora and his debut book, Lords of the Deccan. Congratulations so much to Anirudh. Anirudh's been a podcaster with us for numerous years. We're so happy for him. This is a great book. You should definitely check it out. Do check out Anirudh's show as well, Echoes of India, and he's done another show called Yuddha. And on Cock and Bull, Cyrus is joined by comedians Naveen Narona and Shreyas Manohar. They discuss the new commissioner of Mumbai and his announcements. They talk about the new rules for passport verification and how China has announced a lockdown again. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform that you might be listening to us. You can also check us out on YouTube. We have a webpage, ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where a list of all our channels are. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, India Water Portal, and Max Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back to The Fighting Goat. You're listening to the voice of Arjun Chipalkatti, aka Mystic Chips, and my partner, Mr. Somesh, Kamra. And sorry, guys, if you're sounding a little bit of fatigue and thoda sa deflated, is because of the horrible, ever-changing garmi of Bombay.
Not at all. In fact, the weather is hot, but so is this podcast.
AC band hai yaar.
क्यों एसी क्यों बंद है?
अरे नहीं यार, the gas guy has not come properly to fill it up.
अच्छा, गैस कम है तो एसी बंद है.
Correct, gas कम है. कल रात को cooling भी नहीं हो रहा था. I was wondering, and after living years and years living and working around ACs in India, I have now become almost semi-AC repairman. Urban company से तो मेरे को phone आना ही चाहिए अभी. I can completely do the job. I know what gas goes in also. The kind of gas that needs to go in.
That is amazing. That is amazing. But Mystic Chips, how have you been? How was the week for you?
The week was good. Lots in the world of, there's been so much of drama that's been going on. Do you know that 2022 marks the year? This is now March. In the last 3 months, in this week, the US federal court reports are out. Chael Sonnen has been arrested on 11 counts of 11 felonies for his assault in a hotel. Cain Velasquez has been indicted for his shooting and hit and run case that was going on in the US. And Jorge Masvidal has
It was some shooting something. I think he shot somebody.
He shot somebody, yeah. And now Jorge Masvidal has had a felony charge against him because of his alleged assault on Colby Covington.
Oh my God, what is going on?
What is going on, man?
See, in fact, today's topic was very interesting where we were going to be speaking about all the crossovers happening, all the MMA fighters going into organizations like the WWE.
Yeah, but WWE and so on and so forth.
In fact, there are more crossovers behind bars at the moment.
It's so bad, dude. If you look at every year, you look at all the guys getting arrested, you look at all the guys getting busted. Right. That's fine. John Jones is, has been in the news forever in that department.
Right.
But besides Jones, nobody really has come to mind, like as such, who's behind, who's gone to jail. But 2022 has been such a bad year. Cain Velasquez, Chael Sonnen, and now Jorge Masvidal are all facing felony charges.
Right.
Proper felony charges.
In fact, what I heard about Jorge Masvidal is that he's also facing a huge fine, maybe a cut from the UFC and some jail time. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but we can just wait and watch. And hopefully these guys get their head back on track. See, also what happens that, as they say, ki ye garam dimag ka aadmi hai, and you're trained and strong. I mean, that's such a lethal combination at the moment. And I just feel that, when people talk about fake rivalries, some of these rivalries are so real that they spill over on the streets. And man, Street Jesus has been a street fighter ever since, he's come into the world of fighting. So for him to see Colby at the same steakhouse kind of just...
No, it's not the same steakhouse. They were out in a nightclub. And
oh,
these
really?
guys,
I thought they had some beef in some steakhouse. I mean, literally beef at some steakhouse.
They were apparently, he was out. Colby was apparently with some people in Miami. And he was having a party somewhere. And apparently Masvidal walked up in a hoodie and a face mask and sucker punched him twice, broke one of his teeth. And police are still releasing details. It's either it was at a restaurant or a club or something. It's like maybe like a lounge or something where he was having a drink.
Oh, wow. That is serious. That is actually offense.
That's an offense. And it's the same thing which happened to Chael Sonnen, because Chael Sonnen was in a hotel. And then all we were hearing for the last few weeks was altercation with 5 men. That Chael Sonnen dismantled 5 men.
Right.
But now he's facing felony charges for attempted strangulation. So in a choke, when you're choking somebody, it can be conceived as, if you're not in a sporting environment, you're literally killing someone.
Right.
That's why you're choking somebody.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what the exact felony charges will be. But I'm assuming that they're not going to be simple ones, because that's attempted murder maybe.
Oh my God, this is so serious. I just hope these guys come out of it safe and sound. Really and I hope they get a chance to justify themselves, because I'm seeing a lot of these free Cain kind of hashtags are roaming around. And when I actually read what was happening, I mean, yes, what he did was wrong, but there was a build up. There was a lead up to it. Someone, kind of touching his daughter or his niece or somebody inappropriately, and they were let off by court,
I really wish Cain, instead of shooting the guy, he could have cornered his car, pulled him out and beaten him to an inch of his life.
Well, but that's exactly what Chael did. Better. And Chael is facing the same charges.
No, Chael assaulted 5 guys in a hotel. And I don't know if they came at him or he came at them. But the thing is that as a trained fighter, I mean, you're better than most people anyway, Right. And Chael is a NCAA wrestler. He was an almost champion. Wow. He had such a great career. Wow, why would you go and assault 5 guys? I mean, I don't know. The stories are not out yet.
No, but Chael, what happened? Was something to do with his wife. I think they were commenting something on his wife, or there was something to do with his wife. So Chael and his wife were in Las Vegas when this particular incident happened. And it's very, very sad that it went down that way.
It's sad. See, look, a lot of fighters, we've heard stories from so many. On our show, we've had guys like, Steve Mazzagatti, Herb Dean. We've had the voice of the Octagon. And they've all told us that, fighters are hot-headed guys. And it's normal. It happens. These guys fight amongst each other all the time. You go. There were stories of, Phil Baroni getting into scraps with fighters back in the day.
Right.
And Bruce Buffer getting into a fight with guys in an elevator.
Yeah.
So it's not unheard of and not normal. But I just think fighting amongst yourselves is one thing, and then fighting with civilians is another.
Absolutely, yes.
It's like a military guy is hitting you. A military guy hitting you is obviously he's a military guy.
Right.
That he'll kill you. They're trained to kill.
Absolutely. But I hope all these guys get out of it safe and sound. And speaking of scraps, oh man, we had a UFC fight night at the O2 Arena in London with an audience, which was an excellent event. It had 6 fights on the card and only 1 went to the decision.
I know, right?
How rocking was that?
Dude, it was an incredible card. Top to bottom, we saw the return of a few British fighters like Paddy Pimbrid and Tom Aspinall.
Yes.
And
Arnold Allen.
Arnold Allen as well, who found, sadly, Dan Hooker was on the wrong side of that decision.
Very true.
Again, but for me, the candidate that stood out the most was Molly McCann, who came in with a Valentina Shevchenko style spinning back elbow. Even her body, the way she was moving, reminded me of the Bullet.
Yes.
Or maybe it's been so long that we haven't seen the Bullet fight that I've forgotten what the Bullet fights. But we have a new prospect in that division now.
Absolutely, yes. In fact, the card was stacked top to bottom. How good was Ilya Topurya's knockout of Jai Herbert?
My God. Jai Herbert was, the start of the fight was very interesting. You take a look. We're going to add some pictures to this for sure.
Right.
We started the first round where he got cracked by a head kick, dropped badly. And he got cracked clean by that head kick. Everybody thought he might have been out.
It was over there.
He gathered his wits about himself so well, came back and landed a crushing combination of body to that. I mean, Jai Herbert looked like he'd been shot for a moment.
Yes.
The way he fell.
Man, and that guy, Ilya, in the lightweight division has some hand power out there, man. It was so lethal. And when I saw that, I'm like, dude, this is like insane power. Some of these guys just have that raw power in them.
Jeremy Stevens,
exactly. Jeremy Stevens had in the lightweight division, and also in the featherweight division, he has that raw knockout power. And Ilya had that. And it was so beautiful to watch.
But the funny thing is, so in the fight week leading up to his fight against Jai Herbert, Ilya and Paddy Pimbrid had a lot of bad blood. They were talking trash to each other throughout that week.
Yes.
And there was an altercation where, Paddy was, apparently they had come face to face in the hall or something. And Ilya was saying, I'm going to kill you, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I think after this, everybody and a lot of the UFC commentators as well said that that's the fight to make. Because
that's going to be a banger, to be really honest. Paddy Pimbrid is somebody who is being hyped by the UFC. He's showing that he's showing that he's worth it. He finished the fight in the first round within 4 minutes.
But you know something? There's a funny thing that Paddy Pimbrid said when he was asked by one of the interviewers saying that why won't you fight a top 10? Now that you've faced so many opponents, why won't you fight a top 10? Yeah. He's like, I'm not going to fight a top 10 unless I see more zeros on my contract.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. The fact that he's negotiating it. But again, we've seen some hype trains being derailed. We had a beautiful episode on that also.
Correct.
If you remember, and one of the hype trains that was stopped by my favorite fighter, Chito Vera, was obviously Sean O'Malley. So I completely agree with you. Ilya Topurya versus Paddy Pimbrid possibly is the next fight to make. Paddy Pimbrid, yes, great guy, great personality, MMA superstar, but maybe having some holes in his game. Let's see how it goes. I'm no
We're seeing the hole. We're seeing them, and it's the same thing with you never know how when a fighter's pushed into that moment. Like when Chad Mendes stepped in on short notice against Connor McGregor.
Yeah.
In the featherweight division, a lot of people said like, Connor's not ready for the wrestling.
Yeah.
And a lot of MMA gurus and pundits believed that if Chad had a full camp and had a bigger gas tank, we would have seen a different outcome. We definitely would have seen a different outcome.
Well, but the sport is not, it doesn't rely on ifs and buts, to be really honest.
Exactly.
That day, who's the better fighter and who finishes it is the one that's victorious. And hence, I was so surprised and so happy for Arnold Allen. Oh my God, did he put up a clinic or what versus a very tough Dan Hooker?
It was very, very surgical. The way he came in very, very surgically and did the fight.
Are you calling it a surgical strike?
It is a surgical strike. It was precision. It was not a one shot. It was not a one shot like Ilya Topurya, who just landed that boom right hand over the top.
Right.
This was, he took him down. He methodically broke him and ended the fight with, ground and pound. And visibly so, Dan Hooker was so upset.
Yeah.
After the fight, he didn't want to do any interviews. He didn't want to do any post-fight. He didn't want to do anything. And this was after he had, cut all the weight to drop down 3 weight classes to featherweight.
Well, absolutely. In fact, that was my next point. Do you think that featherweight drop for Dan Hooker really helped him? Because honestly, I felt he looked slow. He didn't look as strong as he normally is. And after a while, when you're walking around at about 175, 180, you're coming down to 145 pounds. Yeah, maybe you're taking 3 months to do it, but eventually on fight day, you would be at least 160, 165, easily. Easily.
I think when I saw him at the weigh-ins, he looked like I've seen guys who are shredded. Like you see guys like Davison Figueiredo when he comes to the weigh-ins. He's also somebody who cuts an enormous amount of weight.
Absolutely. I mean, Figueiredo weighs about he walks around at 160.
On fight night, he's welterweight. I promise you.
Oh my
On
God.
fight night, Davison Figueiredo fights at 125 pounds.
125 pounds, yeah.
He fights at 125 pounds on one day before the fight. He's weighing in at 125 pounds.
He's probably 150 on fight night.
He's
for sure.
He's lightweight for sure. 155 pounds.
That's crazy. That's
the
crazy.
amount of weight he puts back on. But the thing is that he's now been doing it for a long time.
Yes.
He's figured it out.
Yes.
He's figured it out. Guys like Khabib did it for the longest time.
Right.
Of course. And as their careers go on later and later into their 30s, it gets harder. What I'm saying is that for Dan Hooker now, he has dropped down so many weight classes. He was looking shredded, but not good shredded. Like you could see, like it was like maybe 1% body fat in him. Like he had come
dehydrated
down.
And,
horribly dehydrated.
We saw his performance. I mean, it took 2.5 minutes for Arnold Allen to dismantle an almost title contender.
See, that's the thing. I'm liking the organizations that are making fighters fight at their natural weight classes.
Yes.
Instead of cutting
like
them
one
down.
championship. Yes.
One championship. Brilliant job they do. They're doing a brilliant job, which is where you can't cut more than 3 kilos. You just cannot.
8% of the weight class is maximum. So, for example, if you're fighting at like 145, the maximum you can cut is 12 pounds, which is about, say, 5 kgs max.
Yeah, or to make it easier, if you're fighting in a 100 kg division, where the limit is 100 kgs, you cannot cut more than 8 kg. Simple.
Which is not that bad, which is a good decision.
Which is still a lot, which is about 16 to 18 pounds, but that is an upper limit.
Yeah,
and that is
because you're 100 kgs,
guys.
Correct. It's easier for a 100 kg guy to lose those 8 kgs.
Correct.
But if you
3 kilo, 4 kilo pani hai, uske
correct, but if you ask a 60 kg guy to lose 8 kgs, suddenly the percentages kind of skyrocket. So that doesn't make sense.
Just the minute you cut down from 100 to 90, it just depreciates.
Absolutely.
So literally, by the time you're in the featherweights and the flyweights, there's barely any weight cutting. There's like a kilo or 2 tops.
Absolutely. So, man, all our well wishes to Dan Hooker and hope he comes.
I hope he finds
back.
he finds out the issues.
My personal suggestion would be if he goes back up to lightweight, I think that's the division where he looked most lethal. But let's see how he climbs there, because we obviously have the champion, that's Charles Oliveira, that's hanging there. So Dan Hooker, no ways is going to become a champion in that division. There are a lot of top contender guys there. But
lightweight, too many sharks. Right?
But he can always be a top 5 in that stacked division. But who really impressed us in the heavyweight division was Tom Aspinall.
Dude, Aspinall, a lot of people are comparing career trajectories of Tai Tuivasa and Tom Aspinall because they're both coming in on undefeated streaks.
Right. Tai
Tuivasa had like a 8-fight winning streak and before his last fight against Derek Lewis, and Tom Aspinall was on correct me if I'm wrong, is on a 7-fight winning streak now.
Right.
He's winning,
and also he's just 28 years old.
That's the thing. That's the beauty of it. Why I keep calling him, firstly, you don't see a lot of heavyweights submitting people anymore. Number 1. Number 2, to submit a guy who's gigantic. Alexander Volkov is huge. He's 6'8". I'm not saying Tom Aspinall is a small guy by no means.
Yeah, he's 6'5".
He's 6'5". He's a big heavyweight, no doubt. But again, I'm just seeing Frank Mir. All I'm seeing is Frank Mir.
Absolutely.
Good hands.
Absolutely.
Good hands and the ability to take it down and control it so smoothly. To get a straight arm lock is not just a function of strength, but it's a function of skill as well.
Absolutely.
A lot of submissions that can be strong armed, like for example, there were guys back in the day pulling front chokes and schoolyard chokes and stuff. Those are strength based.
Right.
Where you could just, apply. Like guys like Carlos Newton, you see the size of his biceps holding onto you and he's crushing your skull in. That is just pure strength. But the ability to do it to a veteran heavyweight who has hung with the top 5 for the longest time.
Correct.
And has decision.
Derek Lewis and stuff, so
Derek Lewis, he lost in the last 10 seconds by a knockout. Okay, that's right. That's fine. And against Cyril Gane, he was still showing 5 rounds. He hung with the interim champion.
Right.
But for Aspinall to come in and do it so smoothly. Now, if people are saying, Alexander Volkov is done. That's not true. He's not done by a long shot. Yes, TK, in terms of fight years, he might have aged a little bit. What do you think? I mean, it is just the surgeons of Aspinall?
See, a lot of people said the same thing about Tai Tuivasa when he was, getting knocked out cold. People are saying, listen, he's done. He just took some time off. He changed his camp. He kind of revamped himself, and he came back with a bang. So I think Volkov is far from over. I think he's far from over. I would love to see Tom Aspinall versus Tai Tuivasa, but at the same time,
that's the fight now.
At the same time, when a few heavyweights are on losing streaks, I don't mind seeing a Volkov versus Derek Lewis too. That could be another interesting pick.
That's actually a good fight to make, because in that top 5, top 6 now, it's become such a logjam because we've got Stipe Miocic waiting in the wings. You've got Tai Tuivasa, who's just knocked out the number 3 guy.
Right.
You've got Cyril Gane, who lost to the champion just now.
Right.
Who's going to be ready to go in the next few months.
Right.
And I'm saying a good matchup would be, say, for a title eliminator.
Yeah.
Would be a fight between Tai Tuivasa and Aspinall.
Tom Aspinall, yeah.
And the winner takes on, say, somebody like Cyril Gane. Or you push both the guys in 2 separate directions, where you get, where we say, okay, Tom Aspinall, your next fight is against Curtis Blades or Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Well, but do you think any one of these guys has a shot at Francis Ngannou?
Firstly, we don't know what Francis Ngannou is doing. I'm waiting to hear from the UFC if his contract has been renewed, or any of the MMA outlets have been just very quiet about him. Have you heard something? You've been in touch with Sean Shelby.
No, I mean, to be honest, no. I think he has 1 fight left on his contract.
No, he finished his last fight.
Oh, his contract is done?
No, so the thing is that here's the championship clause is kicked in now. So if you win your belt on your last fight, or he retained his belt on the last fight, now he has to defend it, or he has to vacate and leave, but his contract gets immediately extended.
Correct. But I think he's saying that he needs some more zeros on that contract before he defends his belt.
No, but tell me something. Hang on. So now that we've just, I'm sorry, I'm digressing a little bit. This tends to happen because that heavyweight division is like a chess game at this point.
Right.
Because guys like Stipe and all have left. Guys like JDS and everybody have gone. Right. And it's just weird. I mean, who is there really? Who is the top contender standing there right now? Stipe Miocic is just waiting for his crack at Francis Ngannou.
Right.
Which I think he should really get. But
absolutely, yes.
After a title eliminator. Like somebody like, I think Stipe versus Gane would be amazing.
Stipe versus Gane, I think, is the fight to make at the moment. I think that is something which would really draw in crowds, because what's happening, if we're seeing that the fight nights are also now in stadiums with audience.
Yes.
So in fact, the fight night, Tom Aspinall versus Volkov, was a no championship belt, nothing of that sort. Still, it was in the O2 arena and it was packed. There were over 17,000 people in the arena, which means...
So good, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, by the return of Abu Dhabi is as well this year. They're going to come back in October.
And the good part is that the next fight night, which is another heavyweight bout, which we'll speak in segment 3, is also outside the Apex. It's in Columbus, Ohio.
Not bad. I think the Apex, has served its purpose.
Absolutely.
Which it did during the coronavirus. It was fine. It was one of the most needed things for the sport to continue. But now, let there be people.
Absolutely. So now the UFC are taking the route of getting back the crowd and going into full pack stadiums. But what we are going to be speaking about in our next segment are full pack stadiums where MMA fighters are going to other organizations like pro wrestling. And the reason for it, more of such speaks with the voice of the internet, Arjun, Chipalkatti and Somesh, the Superhuman. Kamra, we'll see you on the other side after this short commercial break.
Working Monday to Friday glued to your chair making you feel dull? Worry not. Get your 5-minute weekly dose of travel around the world with postcards from nowhere. Join me every Thursday as I explore the strange, obscure and fascinating parts of the world and bring out facets of travel you may not have thought of before. You can find us on the IVM Podcast app, website or wherever you get your podcast from.
Welcome back to episode 56 of The Fighting Goat. You're listening to Arjun Chipalkatti, aka Mystic Chips, and my partner Somesh, Superhuman Kamra, where we had a lot of news to talk about in the world. We talked about so many fighters suddenly getting, were on the wrong side of the law, and we wish them well. It's even when we heard news last year and the year before, what Connor McGregor and his, assaulting an old man and for not drinking his whiskey. And I'm like, okay, that's a very stupid reason. And assaulted an old man for his whiskey and stuff, which is whatever it is. And of course, hearing all the reports, we just wish saying that, guys, just, we just hope you and your management can get you back on track. That's all.
Well, imagine, here in India, people would be happy to drink free whiskey.
Yeah.
And out there, people are getting beaten for not drinking whiskey.
I think Connor, when he was doing his marketing, there was a segment where he was talking about coming to you, saying Namaste India and all that. I'm like, Arey leke to aao idhar, good or bad, to dekh kaun nahi piyega yaar. And it's Connor's whiskey. It'll be sold in every corner shop. Thank Connor's whiskey.
In every corner shop.
Correct. In every corner shop. But coming back to a point that we've actually, this is not the first time we're discussing this, because it's I think this is cyclical. It's seasonal, Well, after the Olympics finished, there was an Olympic wrestler called a heavyweight Olympic wrestler who won gold for America, was Gabel Stevenson, who was just 21 years old, who was, at that age, you're 20 years old, then your paths are unlimited. And, you've got so many opportunities, so many things that you can do in the world of sports. You can go and train more. You can become an Olympic alternate and, still train for the next few Olympics.
Right.
Or whatever. But this guy gets up and says, I'm leaving my shoes on the mat. This is my last fight. And now I'm looking to make a career, not in MMA, not in the UFC. The UFC made him an offer. A lot of MMA organizations made him an offer. But he's like, I'm going into pro wrestling.
Ooh.
And he's very certain about it. Right? And there are none of the pundits are like, oh, you're an Olympic caliber wrestler. Why are you doing this? I think there's a lot of clarity suddenly with the next generation. Like, remember Somesh back in the day where you got guys like Ken Shamrock. And who
God.
Came in
the world's most dangerous man.
Correct. He was one of the first guys who came in from an original mixed martial arts background.
Right.
To be fighting in mixed martial arts, gone to pro wrestling, came back to mixed martial arts, and then went back to pro wrestling.
Correct.
And I think we're starting to see a lot of new guys heading in that direction.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. See, in fact, the man you mentioned, Ken Shamrock, is honestly one of the legends of the sport, because he truly was branded as the world's most dangerous man. And again, see, let's not beat around the bush. The WWE are the best branding and marketing gurus in the world.
Yeah, no comparison.
In fact, we've had Olympians like Kurt Angle who have actually gone to pro wrestling. Who have actually competed, won medals in the Olympics. They've gone to pro wrestling. So there has to be something there that all these fighters are gravitating towards pro wrestling. I think it's more to do with the fact that, they already have made in the sporting world. And at the same time, I think it's no contact, I could say. It is pretty much.
No. I mean,
it's staged. It's staged.
It is absolutely staged. It's absolutely entertainment. It's nothing more. But the thing is that the grueling schedules these guys go through.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
350 days of a year they're on the road.
Yeah, but that's more to do with the profession,
but they put their bodies through the kind of wear and tear that they have on their bodies. Because they fight twice a week, every week.
Yeah,
it's like Monday Night Raw and Thursday Night SmackDown, and then the special events that are happening.
Right.
And now there are so many more. Back in the day, it was only like Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, all that when we were growing up. But now they've got so many more events, so many more titles.
So I think,
there's a lot of, and if you notice, there are so many Olympians crossing over.
Right.
Kurt Angle was one of the first Olympians there. Then Ronda Rousey is gone.
Right.
Into WWE immediately. And then now we've got Gabel Stevenson, who is now another Olympian who's making his way into pro wrestling. We saw Junior Dos Santos. Recently, I saw Junior Dos Santos rock bottoming a guy into a table or getting slammed into a table at AEW. And he looked genuinely happy, like he loved it.
Right. Right.
Do you somewhere, at least I think so, do you somewhere feel like these guys must have, I don't know whether the contracts are more lucrative in pro wrestling. I think that's something that we might have to find out separately.
Right.
But I think after a career of literally, of cage fighting, taking that kind of damage to the head and
Right.
body, it might be a break from them to fall on their flat on their backs or something and say, okay, chalo. It's not targeted damage like how you take in fighting.
Well, see, my personal take on this is that, there are so many of these fighters. In fact, Dan Severn was one of the first few guys who crossed over. We obviously have, Ronda Rousey. We have people like Bobby Lashley who have gone to and fro.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Bobby Lashley. Fought in SFL.
Absolutely. And also the beast Brock Lesnar.
Dude,
But
Dave Batista as well.
Dave Batista, Dave Batista, in fact, has even tried his career at Hollywood and he's doing very well. So
very well, dude. He is very, very good.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Absolutely, yes. So you see, my personal take on this is that once you have gone from real hardcore fighting, then you don't mind doing something which is little lighter. Yes, you do put your body on the line and stuff, but it's more to do with practice because you practice 5 to 6 hours every day. But it's not real, you're not really getting hit inside that ring. So
yeah, but these were absolute animals once upon a time,
Yeah.
Like Ronda was on an undefeated fight streak. She paved the way for women in the UFC.
Yes.
And she was, say what you want about, a lot of people, critics love to come and criticize her after she's done with the sport. That's the nature of every sport. Everything will catch up to you no matter what you are.
She's a legend. She
is
is
a legend
an
in her own
absolute
right.
legend. And
Absolutely.
I personally feel it's a very natural transition for a high-graded, high-entertaining fighter to cross over because not only is,
she's got a personality as well.
It's not the entertainment, but at the same time, I can go on for more years in an organization like WWE.
How old is Ronda? Sorry to interrupt. How old is Ronda now? Maybe I think mid-30s.
Yeah, I think she's just about in her 30s. She's just about in her 30s.
Maybe 30, 32, 33 somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think she's more than that.
I mean, if Linda McMahon can still get slammed at the age of 60, I think Ronda has a good 30-year career there.
Oh, she's 35. She's 35.
35. There you go. Okay, so if Ronda's 35, she's easily got to go. She still looks good. I mean, she always looked good. She's still going to look good. She's fit because she's a natural athlete and a former world champion. She's going to make her mark in anything that she does. And great for her if it's working out. It's awesome. That's going to be really, really awesome.
And the most important part that I feel is that they earn more money.
That is the first thing I came to. I said, I want to know how their contracts are.
I definitely feel that they earn way, way more money than any... See, because at the end of the day, entertainment has a different perceived value.
Sure.
You can put up shows back to back. As you rightly said, I can do 2 shows in a week, but I cannot fight twice a week.
There's no way. I mean,
and in the sport, in the sport of MMA, you can, you may be contracted with whatever organization, but you get paid only when you fight. You don't, there's no monthly salary or there's no stipend or anything of the sort that comes in your account, so, and especially what happens, sports, like professional sports, I'm not saying professional wrestling, professional sports always has that one time where your body cannot cope up or your mind cannot cope up,
Yeah.
Honestly, even if it's cricket, max 40, 45 is when, like legends like Tendulkar would really be there till about
unless
40,
unless
45.
your name is Robin Singh, who played till, I don't know, he was 70.
So he's the Alexander Olenek of the cricketing world.
No, Alexander Olenek is I think his age, he's closing 82 now, I think this year.
Yeah.
He's almost 82.
But what happens, is that once you're done with any professional sport and your body cannot cope up with that grueling schedule and all of that, it's just so natural to go into the entertainment side because yes, you're doing almost the same thing, but it's not real. So I think it's a great transition.
It's not just the transition that we're talking about. It's also the young breed, the new breed that is choosing pro wrestling over actual fighting.
Well, in fact, Brock Lesnar did that. Brock Lesnar chose pro wrestling and then came into MMA.
There was no MMA that time. There was no real setup that time in the 90s.
Right.
When Brock Lesnar went into pro wrestling, there was literally nothing. And WWE was the biggest thing out there. WWF, the Attitude Era, Stone Cold, Rock, blah. That was the life.
Right.
And so Brock, of course, had no option but to go there. But had he gone into fighting was not. Fighting now has become very lucrative. I mean, look at guys like Connor McGregor. And look at guys like Ronda Rousey. They came here first and then, Ronda has moved on now. Cain Velasquez was a champion in the UFC first and then he moved on to pro wrestling.
Right.
And I'm just saying that a lot of new guys now have started saying, okay, do I go and try my hand at a business where I know I'm going to make some money whenever I fight, which might be worse on my body.
Right.
In the long run, in terms of, post-traumatic epilepsy and stress and this, that. Right. Versus, say, pro wrestling, where I can condition myself from day one, have a longer career perhaps, and not to mention a far more lucrative career.
Well, see, I definitely feel there are pros and cons to this entire situation. Like Cain Velasquez got released by the WWE not even 1.5 years into his contract. Because
we barely saw him.
We saw him once.
And he got beat by Brock.
And Cain Velasquez, to be really honest, is not a entertaining figure. He's not someone that would be, fun to watch. See, at the end of the day, the WWE needs eyeballs on TV, and they need people to fill in the seats. Now, if you cannot do either of those, like I would not want to see Cain Velasquez in the WWE, circuit. I don't think he's entertaining. I don't think he's any of that. Brock Lesnar is someone who broke all the norms. He was
a freak of nature. He was the freak athlete. Nobody had seen such a gigantic athlete. I mean, I'm not talking about say guys like Undertaker, Kane, or even Giant Gonzalez or whatever.
That Andre the Giant kind of guy.
Correct. Giant Gonzalez, Andre the Giant. All those were big guys. Yes.
Yeah.
But Brock was the first NCAA athlete. He was the first legit wrestler.
And he was muscular. He was
huge. He was muscular. He was strong. He was tossing people around like they were children.
Right.
And him and Kurt Angle, were the legit guys. They came
absolutely,
in proper wrestling. The rest of the guys were entertainment guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that was maybe the start of a lot of athletes getting into the sport.
Yes.
Which is why I'm saying it's cyclical, because you suddenly don't hear about it for some time. And then you hear about a lot of it, XYZ is thinking. Like, I'll give you the best example. I was having a chat with somebody from One, and they were saying that, Arjun Singh Bhullar, who is the One FC heavyweight champion who beat Brandon Vera, I think sometime last year or a year before, is very good friends with another pro wrestler called Jinder Mahal.
Yes.
And who's in the WWE. And perhaps he's looking for, and the reason why a lot of people say, why hasn't he defended his belt? Somebody should ask Chatri Sitirong saying, why is he not forcing him to defend his belt? The possibility is that Arjun Singh Bhullar very, very possibly, and remember something, Arjun Singh Bhullar fought in the UFC as well.
Yes.
He fought 5 fights. He only lost 1. So he was winning in MMA. But I think he realized that he wants to get out of this fighting game. And he wants to get into pro wrestling, which might be making him a lot more money.
Absolutely. And also what happens, see, the thing is that pro wrestling is more of a marketing thing. Now, can you imagine, you think Conor McGregor has not thought about it?
Oh my God. Conor McGregor even says I think Vince McMahon will be like, please.
It's over. Yeah,
please,
it's over.
Please.
He's going to be the biggest draw.
Dude, never say no.
For me, he's the guy who can take WWE from number 1 to stardom.
Dude, can you imagine?
According to me.
Can you imagine Conor McGregor in his suit walking the Vince McMahon walk
Absolutely.
out into WrestleMania or something?
And there have been moments where even Floyd Mayweather has come into WWE as a guest, if you remember.
Dude, Snoop Dogg, Floyd, everybody has been there. I mean, Floyd faced Big Show.
Yeah.
And knocked him out with brass knuckles or whatever.
And can you imagine Floyd versus Conor in WWE?
Floyd, maybe not right now. He's a little old. But I can see some of the new breed. I can see some of like the Roman Reigns or someone new who's out there.
See, they always want rivalries. They always want these, like someone who's had a rivalry with someone, say like some 10 years back. They always want to revive that. So, if Floyd has flirted with the idea and Conor gets into WWE, I think he's going to be one of the biggest stars, maybe even bigger than Brock Lesnar, because then he's going to obviously look at Hollywood appearances and then he's going to become a politician.
Dude,
to be honest.
He's already becoming a politician, I'm for sure.
So-
I mean, the next 4 years, I could probably put on the channel and hear, shoot your bleeding mouth, shoot your bleeding mouth. There's only one king in this town, and it's me, Connor McGregor. And I won't be surprised.
Wow.
I won't be surprised at all.
You mean the future Prime Minister of Ireland is there?
It's like, shoot your bleeding mouth. At the NATO summit and all that. He's like, who the fuck is that guy? Shoot your bleeding mouth.
Right.
But the allure of wrestling, like not just WWE, even AEW is paying people. Is paying people enough for Junior Dos Santos. I would never ever, dude, I saw him, he had a smile on his face. Like,
Right.
I'm sure he was not acting well. He was just like, I'm getting slammed,
Yeah.
and he, these guys are so athletic also, no? MMA
Right.
guys with all their years of jiu-jitsu and striking and everything, they're so athletic that he did like a double jump and a somersault and this, that. And
Right.
I'm like, I think after a world of fighting, a lot of these guys who are, who've been fighting since they were like 20 years old or 18 years old,
Right.
and with somewhat of a little bit of a personality, like like I remember I saw Triple C in WWE. I saw
yes.
who made an appearance, who has a personality written for WWE. I saw Vito Belfort in WWE.
Yeah.
And if these guys are beginning to make appearances like this, because I think they are seeing something there.
Absolutely. Yes. See, the thing is that there are pros and cons to it, Like,
Correct.
Like not all MMA fighters would work well in WWE because you need to have that showmanship to yourself, as you
Correct.
rightly said. See, Triple C, people say whatever. He may be cringy, he may be whatever, but people want to see him.
Dude, people either want to see him, you either want to see him win, you want to see him get knocked out. It's like, can you imagine Colby Covington in WWE?
Can you imagine Valentina Shevchenko?
Never.
Valentina
Shevchenko, I would never, because her personality does not match it. Yes, stone cold killer, no doubt.
Correct.
But
Correct.
Colby Covington is
Correct.
written, is a character written for WWE.
Correct. So
he will make the greatest heel ever.
It's a natural transition to go from getting punched in the face really to, enacting these so-called moves. I think it's perfect because see, WWE, AEW at some level have touched the chord where, everybody wants to be a movie star and they want to be an entertainer. And this is the perfect platform for someone who can soak in that light, who can soak in the pressure, who can actually perform as a entertainer. I think there are many of them,
It is acting. Look at the guys who have succeeded now. Batista succeeded. Dave
Right.
Batista, first his greatest success export from the WWE was The Rock. Greatest success.
Absolutely.
Greatest success story was Dwayne Johnson. Then second greatest success is who's doing really well is John Cena. He's coming in more and more movies. You're seeing him do better and better roles. And he's still hanging on. He still holds on to his pro wrestling roots. So I think a lot, like you said, Somesh, rightfully, I think a lot of the MMA guys now are saying, you know what, I want to get into pro wrestling for a couple of years and then get into Hollywood. Ronda Rousey was, when she was champ in the UFC and had that novelty of being, the first female, the
baddest female on the planet.
the baddest female on the planet. She was getting offers from, movie roles from Fast and the Furious and so many other companies. Just like Gina Carano. As well. She was getting offers and roles. But of course, Gina has been around a lot longer than Ronda and that in Hollywood. But the minute Ronda lost, that just disappeared.
Correct.
Suddenly it just went disappeared. That allure of baddest woman on the planet is gone.
Right.
But she got a call from World Wrestling Entertainment, and now she headlined WrestleMania, and she's trying to get that. The calls have started to come back up. So maybe you're right. There's a strategy there. Get into pro wrestling. Let me have some fun as well. Make some great money. And then perhaps let it see if I can open a door into acting, because
absolutely,
because with a lot of guys are looking at those kind of roles as well, coming from there. Badass women.
Absolutely, and, yes. And honestly, Hollywood is more about special effects and really these big badass. See, Rock is not a great actor. He's become a great actor now, but just has a personality for as an action hero. I think there's nobody better than him. There's nobody better than Sylvester Stallone. These guys are just these beefy.
Arnold Schwarzenegger
obviously
are right there.
So they're not the best actors, but they fit that part of being an action hero. And most of these guys can be amazing action heroes. Be it Ronda Rousey, be it Connor McGregor.
Dude,
all these
Connor
guys.
is the talk. I'm waiting for Connor. I'm just waiting to see the trash talk. Can you imagine Connor versus Colby in a World Wrestling Entertainment match?
Oh my God.
The lead up, the kind of trash talk we'll hear.
I would first love to see Connor beat up Vince's son.
Vince's Shane McMahon.
Shane McMahon. Oh yes, Shane McMahon. I
Well, actually,
totally forgot
technically,
his name.
that's the route. You go, you beat, you firstly attack the family, and then you get, and then you go, you attack Vince in the hospital, and he's in the hospital bed, and then you get your female counterpart to attack the mother, Linda McMahon, and then somebody goes and punctures Stephanie McMahon's car. And then and it's an attack on the family.
I mean,
then you get noticed.
Honestly, I really don't mind getting back to WWE just to see it once in a month. I mean, it's just,
I watch it, dude. It's
it's so crazy. These storylines are so crazy, and
it's just watching a Saas Bahu show. It's literally watching a Saas Bahu show.
But the good part is that in the world of fighting, it's such a natural transition to go from your sport to professional wrestling and eventually into movies, that I think it's a career path till the end. I don't think any other sport offers this. Be it basketball, cricket, football, they don't offer this beautiful transition.
No, they don't. Not at all. If you compare any other sport, I think any other sport in the world, you think, what are the greatest sports? Okay, you got NFL. NFL has one story of a guy called Terry Crews, who became an actor, who was an NFL player. Brock Lesnar also went to the NFL for a brief amount of time. But again, NFL, not really Hollywood career. NBA, not really Hollywood career. NHL, not really Hollywood career. For regular football in the world, not really career.
No.
Cricket, no. Yes, MMA to WWE and then Hollywood, yes.
It's a big career. I'm saying that somebody who can do it well can possibly look at a career till about 50, 55, maybe even 60 years old, And
so much to sum up a long story short, so maybe guys like Gabel Stevenson who are young, who are seeing themselves, are saying, you know what, let me get into the WWE. Let me do a couple of years. Let me see if my pay packet becomes lucrative enough to do a crossover fight with the UFC. Because I still have real fighting chops. I'm still a hell of a wrestler.
Right.
Just like how Brock did. He went to the WWE for years. Then he came back to see if he could fight.
Right. Became
a champion. And then just, went back to the WWE. But of course, his acting career didn't take off because he couldn't act.
Right.
But maybe this is what Gabel Stevenson sees. Maybe he's mapped out his next 15 years.
Absolutely. So, you know what? The good part is that in the world of fighting, there are so many options where you can pick and choose and actually live a very decent life and build so much, But speaking of building, we are looking at the next card, which is UFC Fight Night ESPN 63, or can I say Fight Night 205, Curtis Blades versus Dark Cows. And this, again, is not going to be at the Apex. It's going to be in Columbus, Ohio, in the land of Stipe Miocic, with a packed crowd. More of the next fight night coming up after this short commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Have you ever wondered where the business world is headed? How the ways in which we create, market, and sell to consumers will evolve? Or if we'll ever go back to wearing pants while working? For answers to all of this and more, tune into Advertising is Dead with me, Varun Dugirala. Every Tuesday, as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond. You can catch all episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Fighting Goat. You've been listening to the voices of Arjun Chipalkatti, aka Mystic Chips, and my partner Somesh the Superhuman.
मैं सुना है कि अभी Mystic Chips has changed to Sexy Chips.
नहीं, ये लंबे बाल का इफेक्ट है बस.
Hashtag Sexy Chips.
Make
Mystic sexy again.
That though has begun anyway. That though making Mystic sexy again is back. Bringing sexy back, etc. A lot of old hashtags. No, but we had such a great conversation on athletes wanting to cross over. From instead of MMA into pro wrestling. And we understand why. You got to go back and hear that entire segment, because we've explained why as to, that psyche, why is it that way? Why does it work that way? Why?
Absolutely.
What's the allure? What's the lucrativeness? But enough of crossovers, because right now we've got a great fight card coming up for you. Mr. Kamra, can you tell us who is fighting and who's in the main event?
We have another heavyweight bout in the main event. Two, back-to-back 2 weeks when we have heavyweight main events. I think it's the best thing on the table. We have Curtis Blades and Chris Duckhouse in the main event, which is a 5-round main event. It's a non-title fight, but at the same time, what is surprising about this card is that in the prelims, we have Jennifer Maia, we have Sarah McMahon, and we have Neil Magny.
My God, how are these guys been dropped to the prelims?
Exactly.
Hang on, didn't Jennifer Maia fight for the belt against Valentina at some point? No, you're not Jennifer Maia. Sorry, I'm comparing. I'm confusing somebody with somebody else.
I don't think Jennifer Maia got a title shot as yet, but the main event, the main card for the evening is pretty killer. We have Ilir Latifi that is back versus Alexander Olenek. Which is a great fight. We have Matt Brown that's back. Just last week we spoke about
Matt Brown. I thought he retired. Hang on. I thought Matt Brown retired.
No, Matt Brown is back. In fact, he had 1 or 2 great victories. He's on a winning streak.
Wow.
We have the fight. I think that's going to tickle you the most, Mystic Chips, is going to be Askarov versus Kai Kara France.
Oh my God! Finally, that flyweight division has another fight in it.
Absolutely. Kai Kara France is coming off a beautiful victory versus Cody Garbrandt, where he knocked Cody out, and no one's willing to fight Askarov, but Kai Kara France.
Askarov is one of the hardest wrestlers in that division. And
Absolutely.
It's just, I'm just a little upset. I won't say upset because still a great fight, but we're going to see the 4th fight now between Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. And I'm like, guys, you could have given it 6 months easily. Let somebody else fight. You've just fought 3 times back to back.
Well, but one of it was a draw, so hence it's more of, like on paper, it's technically one apiece. It's almost.
Maybe you could have seen a different version of each other, because the last 3 years we've just been watching the same promo.
Very true.
I would have loved to see Askarov versus Figueiredo for the belt, and Kai Kara France versus Moreno for a title eliminator. Well,
to be really honest, I think these 4 athletes are going to be in the mix for a while till Davison Figueiredo kind of calls it quits, because
I think this fight they should retire.
Yeah,
because like we were joking around, man. Let the division pause. Tum log apna kaam khatam karo. You people retire and then we will start.
Well, so to be honest, for me, Kai Kara France versus Askarov is.
Oh man, that's a fight.
It is as in the winner goes for the title. I mean, it's very clear about that.
Yeah. Because Askarov is number 3 in that division now.
Yeah, and Kai Kara France is truly showing what he's made out of. And so the co-main event of the evening is in the women's flyweight division, where Alexa Grasso is back with Joanne Wood, which is an interesting.
Joanne Calderwood.
It says Joanne Wood. I don't know.
I think she's married to John Wood now.
So Calderwood is now Wood. Yeah.
So Joanne Calderwood, man, she's a good fighter, but she's had a strange career path.
Absolutely, yes. But the main event of the evening is in the heavyweight division yet again, back to back. Curtis Blades taking on Chris Duckhouse.
Dude, big step up for Chris Duckhouse. Big step up in competition. Curtis Blades is a tough, solid wrestler.
Right.
Who's going to be coming at you. And, I don't know if Chris Duckhouse has that Derek Lewis power to stop him. He does not. I don't think he has that kind of power. It's going to be an interesting fight. Let's see where this goes, because all of this leads up now to that entire top 5 title picture again,
Absolutely, yes.
Who's coming up.
Correct. So Chris Duckhouse had a great run in the UFC. He had about 5 wins before he ran into Derek Lewis and he got knocked out clean.
Yeah.
Curtis Blades, on the other hand,
that's also one common thing for both these men now.
Absolutely. Curtis Blades also got knocked out clean by Derek Lewis, but he has a good victory versus Rosenstrike in his last fight. So that's another interesting take. Let's see who's going to win this one. I think it's more of who gets out of the top 5 in the heavyweight division. Mystic Chips, we are on the prediction game quickly for the main event of the evening. In the heavyweight division, Curtis Blades versus Chris Duckhouse.
I think Curtis Blades, his experience is going to come into play here. He's become a far more cautious fighter since that knockout to Derek Lewis, and we saw it against Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Right.
I think it's going to be Curtis Blades who takes the victory.
You think it's going to be a 5-round grappling match, which is going to go on, and it's going to be like a
I don't know if it's going to be a decision.
or...
I don't know if it's going to be a decision or not, but I think it's going to be Curtis Blades.
Interesting. So I think the same. I think Curtis Blades is going to take this one. It's a huge step up for Chris Duckhouse. So Mystic Chips and Superhuman Kamra are going to go for Curtis Blades. However, the second prediction is going to be in the flyweight division. Askarov versus Guy Gara France.
That's a tough one, man.
It's a 3-round fight.
It's a really, really tough one. I got to go with Askarov because, you know, I'm not just because he's just so well-rounded everywhere. He's got a great wrestling game. He's got great hands. He's got power. But so does Guy Gara France. So it's going to be very interesting to see. It could be a literal chess match. And I am going to lean towards Askarov.
Very interesting. The Dagestani 29-year-old Askarov taking on the New Zealand native. I am going to go for Askarov too, because he is, again, unbeaten. He only has one draw on his card, which is versus Brandon Moreno, but he's been tearing people apart. So I'm going to go with Askarov, and I think he's waiting in the wings for way too long, and he's going to be hungry. I don't know. I think his last fight was exactly a year back.
I don't remember. It's been a while.
I think it's a year back, according to me. As I'm checking it, it is March 6th versus Joseph Benavidez.
Man, Joseph Benavidez, I think that was one of his last fights as well.
Correct.
After he lost twice to Davison Figueiredo. But guys, those are our picks for this awesome fight night. So check out, please log into our social media profiles and follow ivmpodcast.com on Instagram, on Twitter. Share your picks with us for your chance to win some awesome TFG merchandise. You'll get t-shirts, you'll get caps, you'll get keychains, you'll get whatever you ask for at this point. Follow us, get in, be part of the conversation. My Instagram handle is @ArjunChips, and on Twitter, I'm @TheMysticChips. Go Somesh.
Awesome. You can tag me on Instagram, somesh.kamra, and on Twitter, it's somesh_kamra. Tag IVM on all platforms. Please hashtag us to win some exciting OG merchandise. This is it from episode 56 of The Fighting Goat with your host and those Somesh, the Superhuman Kamra, and Arjun, aka Mystic Chips. We'll see you same time, same place next week, only on ivmpodcast.com.
What is the workplace and how does your gender and body affect your right at work? Hey, I'm Priya Mirza, and on the Longest Constitution podcast, we critically examine the vision of the Indian Constitution and laws. In season 1, we looked at sex, gender, sexuality in India, and the landmark judgments which transformed our rights as citizens in this country. In season 2, we discussed the laws which shape the workplace and examine how ability, competence, and merit impact us, and much more. Join me, Priya Mirza, every Wednesday only on the IVM Podcast app, website, and all the major podcast streaming platforms.
Habits? Routines? How exactly do they help us get better? Well, to simplify it for you, tune in to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashton Doctor, and I'm going to be here to help you get better daily with some simple, easy-to-do habits that you can easily adapt to your life. So tune in to the Habit Coach podcast from Monday to Friday, because I believe that awesome lives start with awesome habits.